So we're going to dedicate some time in order to speak about the generic plugin that we can use in order to create a slideshow, the Carousel.js, as part of Bootstrap. So for that, we're going to go to the Bootstrap documentation under the Carousel section. And without any further ado, we're just going to check out the markup for this slideshow. So we have different components. We've already prepared a similar example in our template, demo_javascript, so go back to this file in order to follow along. Here, this is where the markup starts, so this first div with the class of carousel. And below we have the indicators, so this is an ordered list, so we're going to see right away what it is on our template. So in order to make it more apparent, we're going to move to the next slide. So here it is. You can see that we have one indicator which is white, and this is to indicate in what position we are on the slideshow. Then you'll see that as soon as we move to the next slide, so then the third indicator becomes white. And then finally for the last slide, we can see that we are now on the fourth slide because the last indicator is white. So we're going to do an example right now. We're going to copy and create another indicator, and we're going to change that to number 4. And for the purpose of this demonstration, we're going to create another slide by copying a div with the class of item. So we're going to paste it underneath, and we're going to go check out in the browser how this looks. And now we should see, instead of 4, we should see 5 indicators, and here it is. So now we are on the second slide, third slide, fourth, and finally the last slide, because we can see that the 5th indicator is white. Let's continue with the review of the markup. So here we have the controls, and they're used to control the movement of the slide. So whenever you click on a link, it's going to move to the next slide or the previous slides. And here we can recognize the glyphicons, which are included in a span, and we're going to see right away to what that corresponds. So here we have our glyphicons, and they trigger the action of moving to the next slide every time you click on it. But there is more than the glyphicon. We'll see that back in the markup. We need another information, so this is the data attributes, in order to command the action of moving to the next slide. So here on the left, we have the data slide previous. And when we click on the chevron right, we're going to move to the next slide. So let's make a quick demonstration to prove our point now. So what we're going to do is reverse the behavior by replacing previous with next, and also for the right one we're going to change from next to previous. So we're going to see what happens whenever we click on this one on the right. Now what happens is that we go to the previous slide instead of the next one, and so forth. When we click on the left chevron, we're going to go to the next slide. So let's revert back to the original. Back to the Bootstrap documentation, we're going to see that we can add some variations to our template, and for that, on the second example, we can read that we can have a caption. And in order to achieve that, we're going to see that we can add a div with a class of carousel caption that we're going to place inside the div item. So let's go back to our template, in which we're going to add a caption for each item, so each slide. So inside the div item, we're going to go under the image and copy the same markup for the div with the class of carousel caption. And for this demonstration, I'm choosing to have a title only. So for that, I'm going to write first slide. And by scrolling down, we're going to move to the next item, copy this, and then add it under the image of the second slide. So you're going to go ahead and do the same thing for all your slides, and then we're going to check out the results in the template. Once we're done, we're going to check out to the browser and check out the results for each of our slides. So whenever we move, we can see a different caption, second slide, third slide. So that's pretty nice to add for your demonstration. Everything inside Bootstrap can be customized. So for example, for those indicators, we could certainly having them in black instead of white. So in order to find out how we can target those indicators, we're going to use the inspector tool and figure out what selector we should use in order to change, upgrade to another styling. So after finding the right element with the class of carousel indicators, we're going to scroll down to read the different styling and see if we have any information about the colors. If not, we'll probably need to go deeper in the markup, so one level down. So here we have the ordered list, and inside we can open and we can find the list items. And associated with these items, we have some information about the colors, also for the active list items. So we're going to go ahead and check this out. We can read that for each list item we have a border, so 1 pixel solid and white color. Also, we have a background color, which is actually transparent. And what about the indicator with the background color white? So that's probably the list item with an active class. We're going to try to spot this one, and here we can see that we have a background color of white for the list item with the class of active. Once we have the information that we need in order to customize this styling, we're going to go ahead and copy this selector, and we're going to go to our styling, which is in the head section. And right after the line 69, we're going to copy the same selector. Here it is, Carousel Indicators, LI for list items. And we're going to use the same property, which is for the border, but instead of having a white color, we're going to have a black color. And we're going to add a style also for the list item, which is active, in order to add a fill color. And for that, we're going to add another line, so that's going to be Carousel Indicator, li.active. And for this CSS rule, we're going to add the property background, and that's going to be a black color. Every time we move to a slide, which is current, we'll have a black indicator. So let's see in the browser how this looks. We're going to reload the page. And here it is. So now we have nice black indicators, and every time we move to the next slide, it turns to black in order to indicate on which slide we are. And you can do the same for any other element inside this carousel. For example, you could, on your own, change the color of the caption.